So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Michael Akinpora. I'm a research and policy advisor at NNSC. And today's workshop is the next installment of our GVI Workshop Series on project management. So just a little bit of background on us, the NNSC. We're the National Network for Safe Communities at John Jay College, which is an action research center based here in New York that implements proven strategic interventions to reduce violence. NNSC's mission is to reduce violence, build trust, and transform public safety in partnership with communities all around the world. These workshops specifically are meant for new, interested, and returning partners to this work. So NNSC, the National Network, is just that. It's a network of sites all around the country, all around the world, that we work with on an ongoing basis to provide support as they implement violence prevention strategies. These workshops are meant for folks who are new to this work. So sites who are not necessarily on board with NNSC yet, are coming on board with NNSC, or if you're an individual on an ongoing site where we're already working with, you are kind of a newer employee or just kind of getting familiar with NNSC, GVI, focused deterrence, the sort of things that we're talking about in these workshops. The workshops are meant to be a space to learn about and discuss violence prevention, focused deterrence, new innovations in the field. We'll probably touch on some of our other innovations and interventions in addition to GVI, like the intimate partner violence intervention, some of our international work, our reconciliation and legitimacy work, and kind of all the different tentacles that we have will come into play during these workshops. In each session, including today, you'll hear from experienced NNSC staff members and participate in roundtable conversations. These are meant to be workshops, so if you have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat throughout. There'll be time for questions via Zoom at the end, so just raise your hand at the question portion, and we're looking forward to chatting with you all. And these sessions are open to anyone and everyone who's interested in exploring a GVI approach to violence reduction in their community, whether it's community-based organizations, social service providers, municipal workers, law enforcement, academics, anyone who's interested in learning about this sort of work is welcome here, and you're welcome to invite folks, colleagues, other jurisdictions into these workshops. We'll provide the contact information for us and these workshops at the end of the session. So what we're going to do now is just a really quick breakout room, round robin, just to get a sense of who's in the room so we can say hi, just say where you're from and your name, and then we'll rejoin in this main session for today's presentations on project management. All right, so welcome back everyone. Thank you for joining us again. Today's session is on project management. So before we get to today's featured presentations, I was just going to do a tiny bit of setup to kind of situate us in relation to the other workshops, which hopefully you've been able to watch or attend, or if not, you can log on anytime to our website and check them out. We'll have the link at the end. And just throw up these slides for a moment. All right. So if you've been attending our sessions so far, or like I said, have been watching them or learning about GVI or know about GVI, you've probably heard us describing it as this three-legged stool. So in the past couple months, we've had workshops on community moral voices, who are the moms, the credible messengers, the folks out in the community who are reputable and able to talk to high-risk individuals, the support and outreach component, which are community-based organizations, social workers, CVI partners, more traditional service providers, things like that. And then last session, a few weeks back, on law enforcement, police legitimacy, was the third leg of that stool. And that's the police partners, prosecutors, juvenile system, all of that, each of which provide one of the three pillars or three legs of this three-legged stool that make up GVI. But at the top of that stool, the seat, the kind of portion that oversees it all, that kind of brings it all together, makes everything happen, the whole intervention rests on, is the project manager. It's a crucial role, a crucial part of the intervention. So we wanted to make sure we had a full workshop kind of devoted to a deep dive of that role in particular. So we have three great presentations for you today, starting with my colleague, Deb Higgins, who's going to talk about the role of the project manager in GVI, and then two presentations from current project managers in GVI sites, where they'll be able to add some flavor to their experiences, kind of talk through what it's like to actually do this work and be a project manager. So without further ado, I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll hand it over to my colleague Deb for today's presentation. Thank you, Deb.
Okay, thank you, Michael. So I'm going to go through this. I am not currently a project manager, but I was one for 8 years in Chicago. So that is a big, big site. So some of the things I'll say to you, always remember you can mold what you hear to your site so that you can be as effective as you possibly can be. But the first thing I found this quote the other day, and this quote said, you are a true leader when you help your team become successful. Remember, leadership is not about you, it's about the people you serve. So everybody that's on this call is really, truly about serving people and helping people out. And so we want to make sure that we give you the best tools you have. I'm going to go to my, I have slides, but I'm going to, can I share it, Michael? Can I do that?
You should be able to, Deb.
Yeah, let me try. Let me see. Aha, here we go. Let's see if it'll do it. You know, I'm not as good as Mike is on this, so. Okay, so the first thing is this for any project manager, and I cannot emphasize this enough, know your community. If you're not sure or you don't know the community, seek out those community meetings that happen on a regular basis. You want to make sure that you go to them. I can tell you there were times I went to 8, 9 meetings a week in the beginning when I first started as a project manager. And sometimes I come back and get my kids and we go back to a meeting. And I just made sure that my name got out there. I gave people my card. When the opportunity arose for me to be able to speak and talk about what GVI is, that helps because it stops a lot of myths about GVI, but it also helps you get embedded in the community and the GVI message gets out. And then you start to muster up those volunteers for that other leg of the stool, which is the community moral voice. And that's where you can pull speakers from, because you meet people on a casual basis at a meeting, you talk, and then you also want to tell people, maybe some people want to go out on custom notifications, you know, as you're explaining GVI, but there's some people that want to just get up and speak. And there's some people that just might want to attend a call-in if you have one, and they just want to be there to talk to the participants or the clients that you call. Or they can attend an event, or they can, you know, help you with other things that you might want to have as part of the GVI strategy in your community. Because remember, you're the person that's going to mold this in the community and help people. So even to this day, I will tell you, if someone from the community calls me, I take the call. If I can't take the call, I call them back. It's very important that you, and I know it seems draining sometimes. And then also if people call you at different times, know your community, know that their timeline is not your timeline. So you've got to make sure that you embed yourself in what's going on. So the next thing that I thought was very important was to know your criminal justice entities. And those are the individuals who are in the police department, probation, parole, people in the court system, the prosecutors. You need to get out there, introduce yourself, try to go to meetings that if it's not just law enforcement specific, you can get to know them, because once everybody is communicating, then you can start asking for people from those different entities to be able to go out on custom notifications with you. You know, then you talk to the prosecutor's office. Sometimes there are ways that instead of having everybody locked up, we could come up with some other levers so that people can still stay out of custody. And you can work with different prosecutor's office, probation, parole, especially if you're trying to find somebody to custom notify them. Probation and parole officers, for those of you that are newer, or or for those of you that haven't had a lot of experience with them, they can help you find these clients. Once you find them, then you can offer them the services. So that's what I say about knowing your community as well and your criminal justice system, because you want to make sure that you get the services to the clients. Does that make sense to everybody? And then the final thing, I mean, of course, you're supposed to know your support and outreach, but I know I'm going to let Lisa and Wayne talk about that a little bit more. The third thing that I thought was really important was that training. You have to go out, because when you train different faith-based organizations, community leaders, probation, parole, the judiciary, all the members that would be on a GVI team, you work with city government, you work with different entities within city government, train them on what GVI is, train them on what custom notifications are. When people know, then they understand what you're doing, and you're not going to always get a lot of pushback. Or if they have questions and they have your contact information, they can contact you. You're driving this strategy in your site. So there is really never enough training ever, in my opinion, because there's always new people coming into the strategy. People get promoted, people leave, and you always want to make sure that you schedule a big training at least once a year. The other thing is that you want to ask the police department, once you get your relationship established with them, is to talk to them about writing a policy and procedure in their administrative directive or general orders. And the reason I say that is because you want to make sure that, like for police and law enforcement, if it's not wrote down, they don't believe it. So you want to make sure that they're writing things down. So when someone gets promoted and the next officer or sergeant comes in, this is now institutionalized and routinized GVI into that site. So there's not going to be a big blip where, oh, someone new's coming in. All you have to do is train them, and then they have a reference document so that the GVI work can continue seamlessly. Does that make sense? So those are the things that I worked on a great deal when I was a project manager and had a lot of conversations. One other thing I didn't put on the slides that, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen, is that, how do I, oh, I see. One thing that I did do is we invited all the support and outreach agencies that we thought we might want to work with. Now, some sites only have one or two, but in a large metropolitan urban area, you're going to have 5, 6, sometimes up to 10. We invited them all for coffee, donuts. We had a thing at night. It was at late in, like about 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening, and we ordered pizza. And we invited all the support and outreach people to come and sit down and have pizza with us. And that's when we found out what agencies would work with us and what agencies did not want to work with the police. Some agencies don't want to work with the police. And, when you do customs, the police department is involved in this strategy. So if you find someone that doesn't want to do that, it doesn't want to work, and they say they don't want to, well, you can't be mad at them, but at least up front. And then you have other people that will ask you a lot of questions. Some will get back to you, and some will tell you right on the spot, we're in 100%. Now you know where you can refer your clients to. Now you know where you can get certain services. And that's the other thing that I want to really impress. And I would say to agencies all the time, look, these are crisis clients. They have to be put to the top of the list. They're either likely to get shot or shoot somebody. We do not want someone else to get shot. We don't want any more lives lost. We're trying to push the violence down. So please, we need to have you take these clients, and if you don't have what they need, let us know, and we will connect you with another agency that can help them. So sometimes you are the connector conductor of where people are being sent. You're directing traffic, especially if you have clients that have multiple needs. Does that make sense to everybody? It's a tremendous amount of things to do, but once you start doing it frequently, and I know Wayne and Lisa will both say this, it's just like you do it automatically. You know, once you've done this a while, it just comes automatically. You just do what you need to do. And so you direct the clients where they need to go. And for those of you that haven't done this a lot, I can't tell you how many officers I had call me and ask me if I would help their family member. So, you know, that we all have someone that needs help. So when you do that, that's like a favor that you do for somebody. It's very helpful in establishing good relationships and good rapport. The same thing with community meetings. You go to a community meeting and someone may mention something and you pull them to the side and say, look, let me see what I can do. And then what you do is if you get that done for them, they don't forget that. And then you start to get more credibility and more legitimacy within the police department, the community, the faith-based. It makes a difference. Does that make sense what I'm saying? I think that's all I have, Michael, because I really want Lisa and Wayne to talk. I want to shut up.
No, that's great. Thank you. No, you did a good job of laying out kind of the principles behind project management within GVI and kind of the high level ideals and goals that a PM in GVI is meant to be kind of working towards every day. And to that end, we have two excellent project managers who do that work every day, starting with Wayne Rollins from Miami-Dade, who I have the pleasure of working with in a bit of an advising capacity. And so Wayne, we're hoping to hear some of your experiences, what it's like to be a PM in Miami-Dade, and a bit about your day-to-day doing this work. So over to you.
Ready. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Couple of things. Your credibility has a lot to do with your acceptance. And so if you have not done work in this arena, then you're going to need to invest some time in making friends so that you have the credibility, that you need to be able to get this job done. Also, you need the capacity to do the job. Don't automatically assume that you know what you need to know. One of the things that the National Network for Safe Communities has done is they've invested a lot of intellectual assets into developing the collaterals, the project manager's guide, the custom notifications guide, the call-in guide. All of these collaterals have a wealth of information that will help you to have the capacity to effectively do this work. So read it. I mean, if you're a project manager, read the project manager's guide 2 or 3 times, to the point where you say, like, on page such and such, it says this. I mean, you really need to be able to have that, to be armed with that knowledge. And then be sincere. If this is just a job, if this is just a step in, your 5-year plan to go from, point A to point B, well, that's nice, but this work is life and death, literally, as you all know. So your sincerity is key, as well as your intention. What the intentionality of what you do with this work on a day-to-day basis. And you wake up in the morning, and it's like, And I don't want to deal with, shootings and violence and crime and whatever. But then at the same time, you're saying, I can go out there and really make a difference in somebody's life, in the community's life. And so having that intention, to find that golden nugget every single day, that you are able to, bring the beer either in a person's life or in the community. So, that intentionality is key. Planning. You got to have a strategic plan, not just, the fact that you're going to do a call-in and plan around the call-in, or do custom notifications and plan around that. You need to take all the resources that you have at your disposal, in your community, and bring that to bear with what it is that you're doing. So it's not just, okay, we're going to do custom notification. No, we're going to do custom notifications, but we're going to pull in this resource and that resource and use everything. And particularly if you're a government employee and you're funding other sites like community violence intervention groups or what have you, you want to make sure that those agencies have some role, some tie into what you're doing, because you're going to need it. Maybe it's through referral or what have you, but you're going to be able to need to gather all the resources. If you're not talking, please mute your microphone. And make friends. In government, in the streets, in the jails, in the prisons, whatever. Make friends. You want to add, you don't want to subtract. You want to be able to build your network across multiple communities and multiple entities, because you're going to need all the support, and people do good things for the people whom they know and who they like, right? And so by making friends, it's a lot easier to get something done than being adversarial, right? Picking a fight to get what you want. It doesn't work well in the long run. So make friends. The police department in Miami-Dade County, they chose not to include us in the shooting reviews that they were holding. So I'm like, wait a minute, I'm the project manager. I ran Weed and Seed, which was the U.S. Department of Justice initiative to weed out crime and seed and social and economic program. I ran that for 5 years. I was the Project Safe Neighborhoods coordinator for the U.S. Attorney's Office for 8 years, but they didn't want to include me in the shooting reviews because I wasn't sworn law enforcement. So I'm like, man, how am I going to be a project manager? And I don't know what's going on with these incidents. So you know what? I said, well, heck with it. I'm going to start my own shooting analysis. And I'm going to invite the police to participate. I'm going to have street outreach. I'm going to have our social workers. I'm going to have schools. I'm going to have parks. I'm going to have everybody on my shooting analysis, everybody that is relevant to the work that I'm doing. And first, police kind of like showed up. They didn't say anything, and the street outreach team, they didn't say anything. So it was basically like me trying to pull teeth, trying to make things happen. But by being consistent, right, and making friends, and then getting people to loosen up, getting the street outreach team to start to talk a little bit, the police started saying, wait a minute, they have some value. They have some value to bring to, our investigation. So they started to realize, you know what, strengthening our community engagement is going to better our investigation. And so they started showing up to all of our shooting analyses, and they started contributing information. So now the street outreach team was armed and equipped with the important information, and police as well, and bringing all the other partners to bear that may have a role in helping you figure stuff out. The public housing folks, nuisance and abatement, all these people, that they have something to contribute, to you figuring out what's going on the streets. Because if you can't figure out as the project manager, then who can? Because you're the conduit. You're the bridge between the police, the community, the streets, the jails, the prisons, everybody. So it's really key that you understand what's going on. So if you don't have what you need, you make what you need. And that's what we did in the case of the shooting analyses. And when you have a meeting, everybody check their ego at the door, because there's too many important people that are going to be in the room with you. And if everybody's ego is brought into the room, there won't be any air for anybody to breathe. So, and that starts with yourself. I mean, there was one cop that every time that they would come into a meeting, they say, "I run GVI." I'm like, okay. So I'm like, okay, if that's what it takes to have you be vested, go ahead. You run GVI. You go right on ahead. And I'm the project manager, right? But you go right on ahead, no problem. But it became buy-in. Now that person is vested, right, into your strategy. So you don't need to always have the credit. You don't need to have your names in lights. It's about getting the work done, right? Let other people take credit all the way, because GVI, when it was born out of the Boston Miracle, what brought the Boston Miracle down? It was the fact that people started taking credit for the success. When it was your partners, it's the collaborative, it's all of you. Can't do it by yourself, right? So that's one of the key things, is that let other people take credit. And for me, because it's a coalition, I don't compete for funding against anybody in the coalition. We don't compete for funding, because guess what? If I compete for funding against you, you're not going to keep coming to the table. And if you do, you might have some animosity there against me, because I took funding out of, I took money out of off of your plate. So we don't compete for funding. Now, maybe we're in a good position to do that because of our relationships with government or our funders, but we don't compete in these grant programs that are going to put us up against our partners for funding. So at any rate, we utilize Resource Router Community. It's an app that utilizes artificial intelligence powered by algorithms to kind of get you ahead of where the incidents take place. So the street outreach workers, now every shift, they get 10 engagement areas where to go before an incident takes place. Instead of waiting for an incident to take place, they now have the ability to go out. So it is, as a project manager, it is an amazing tool for you to be able to have your street outreach team get ahead of the violence, as well as a management tool for knowing where they are and what they're doing. And so at 3 o'clock in the morning, when we have, street outreach workers on shift, are they at home in bed, or are they out in the community? So it helps you to manage, that aspect of the work. We have our street outreach teams. We do the engagement, with service provision. And when we first started out, we got case managers that were also kind of like credible messengers, but maybe a notch up in terms of their knowledge and capability of case management. But when we upgraded our case management to hiring master's level social workers and PhDs to do the work, licensed clinical social workers, under the auspices of the hospital-based violence intervention program, which was tied to our GVI, made all the difference in the world. Made all of the difference in the world. I mean, you will find that you have another level of engagement, trauma-informed response. So when you're building your strategy, or if you've already built out your infrastructure, you may want to consider upgrading your talent to master's levels and higher social workers to deal with your clients, because it's tough. The folks in our community, they're going through a lot. And I'll just give you one little anecdote and see how this all kind of plays out. And then I'll turn it over to my colleague. And that was on Sunday. we got a notification that a shooting took place. And a young man got shot multiple times in front of his house. Well, on Tuesday, we were at that house delivering a custom notification. I'm sorry, strike that. Let me back up a little bit. On Monday, we had our shooting analysis, and we talked about that incident. We found out that there was a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old in the house. We had found out that our data coordinator that was based in the hospital, that as part of our hospital-based initiative, had made contact already with the auntie of the shooting victim. Got consent from the auntie for service provision. The next day, we were at the house doing a custom notification. Our social worker was simultaneously engaged because she received that referral from the hospital to engage the client. So to start doing assessment, ACEs. We're doing an ACEs assessment, adverse childhood experiences assessment, and what we call the GAIN SS to show their levels of behavioral health and trauma, to engage them in that, to be able to do the service provision. When we did the custom notification, there was still the bullet holes on the front door. It turns out that the man that got shot, when he went inside the house after being shot, he fell down bleeding in front of his 5- and 6-year-old. Only to find out that that 5- and 6-year-old went to school on Monday, the day after the shooting. So we also now engage our school-based intervention program to engage with the school, the counselor, the principal, the activity director, because Johnny and Jane went to school after their father got shot, and the school doesn't know. So the schools, well, why is this child acting out? Why are they not able to come? And then the school's ready, like, well, let's just give them some medication. Let's recommend medication for them, not having any idea what that child just came from, going into the school that very next day. And then, if that wasn't enough, we did the service provision, slotted service provision, and then today we had our advisement call with National Network, and to bring that same case to bear with all that information, right? They came out of Monday's shooting analysis. Also, not to mention that on Sunday, when the shooting took place, our street outreach workers were dispatched to the scene, right? So our street outreach workers on the scene, our hospital coordinator engaging with them on that Monday, the Tuesday, and as well as also the shooting analysis. And on that Tuesday, doing the custom notification. So we're out there with law enforcement. We're out there with our community moral voice. Wednesday, continuing that follow-up with our social workers, and today with the advising call with National Network. So to manage this, to properly do project management, you need to take everything. Everything, you need to have a handle on everything. You need to understand what's going on. You need to bring everything to bear in order for you to be successful. The hospital, the jail, the prison. We do a lot of work in the prisons, in the jails as well. So, an open invitation to any of you and all of you, to come down to Miami-Dade County. We'll be more than happy to host you and see what a typical, week, is, for us. And you can, what I just told you, that's what we do week in and week out. And, we'll be happy to share whatever we have, whatever knowledge with you. And we want to learn from you too, because there's something that you do that's very special. And we want to take that and add that to our toolbox as well. And that's the beautiful thing about the National Network for Safe Communities and this GVI network, is that you're able to take and learn from people around the world, and that are engaged in this work and that are sincere and have good intentions in doing this work.
So Michael and everybody, thank you very much. I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Wayne. That was amazing as always. And I'm really glad that you brought up that incident we discussed this morning, because I feel like that's a perfect encapsulation of the project manager role and your kind of amazing tenure in the project management role, in that you innovated when you weren't able to attend those law enforcement shooting reviews, created your own community-based shooting reviews, got everybody involved, brought all the partners together. And now, as the deliverables coming out of those shooting reviews, you're able to, in the event of the shooting we're discussing, pull together hospital-based intervention, customs, NNSC, school-based interventions, and bring that all to bear on the client to, I'm sure, great results. So thank you for bringing that up. Thank you for doing that. And thank you for speaking here today. And with no further ado, I'm going to hand it over to another of our premier project managers for some of her insight and some of her experiences in this work, Lisa Jordan from Cedar Rapids. So thank you for joining us, Lisa, and over to you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lisa. I'm the project manager here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and I started this role in November of 2022. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. Been there all my life and moved here. And a lot of the interactions that I have with the clients is, for me, it's more lived experience. So I think that's why I'm so passionate about what I do and how I do it. And protecting our clients. So everything that Wayne said is like 100% on it. You have to make sure you read in that manual. I sat in 10,000 trainings when I first took this position, but when I read the manual, it made sense. It came together. And I also read the book Bleeding Out. Doing that, it made it click. I'm like, okay, this makes sense. So it put me in a position where I was able to help more and I was more focused. So I saw what things were missing in Cedar Rapids. And the first thing that I noticed is they did not have community. You had no community behind you to help in the work. I'm sorry, my daughter is halfway. She wanted to be over here making noise. I apologize. So yeah, with that, give me.
No worries at all, Lisa.
Hey, while we're taking it, while Lisa has to take care of something, I wanted to mention, Michael, and I'll mention it now. Make sure, and I know Wayne knows this too, data. You don't have to have the client's name that is being serviced, but you have to have the numbers of who's being serviced. You know, in other words, if it's 5 people or 10 people, if you have a call-in or you do 10 customs and 6 people, we don't need names or addresses or phone numbers. We just need to know if these individuals asked for services. So that's something you have to make clear data-wise. All right, I'm going to go back off.
Thank you for adding that in, Deb. And back to you, Lisa.
Okay, I apologize for that, guys. But yes, one thing that I noticed that they was missing was a lot of community involvement. So I'm like, it's not going to work if you don't have the community behind you. And the first question that I asked them was, why is it that even for me, I've worked here for the last 14 years and I never heard about this strategy. I never heard of it. And I work in the human service field. I work in the correction field, never heard of it. So for me, that was strange. So I made sure that the first thing I did, I started setting up community meetings in the community. And I had one, twice a month. I started in November. My first 2 was in January. And the turnout was really good. And it was just to educate the community that we are here and these are the services that we provide and these are the partners that we're working with. So just making sure that the community was well informed. And like Deb said, showing up to those neighborhood association meetings, letting them know that we here and this is what we're doing. And they opened up so many more doors. So another thing that I started hearing in Cedar Rapids, these kids is just, for our population, they're so young. We're talking about our youngest client we're serving right now was 12. So from 12 to 15, those are the majority of the kids that we're serving. And these are all gun-related crimes that these kids are facing. So I'm like, what can we do? What can we do to reduce this? First thing went to my mind, because I know if it was me and my son, I want to know what's going on. So, you know, for me, it was, okay, I have to meet these mothers. So for the outreach workers, every time they did an intake, I told them I need to know who the parent is, whether it's mom, dad, auntie, whoever the guardian is, I need to be involved. So I got that list together. I took all these mothers out to dinner, and they had it was so crazy, because they sit here and they talking about like the things that their kids done and going back and forth. And I had one of our mothers, her son recently was killed the beginning of this year. And some of the other mothers was in the room. So I told her, I don't want you to be uncomfortable. So I explained this beforehand, but I want you to share with them what you're going through right now, because their kids are still doing the same thing, involved in the same thing. So when she explained that to them, it was like, wow, you know. But what I was able to do, and my goal for that whole meeting, was to bring them together. They have lunch together. They call each other now. They call me, you know, such and such is out here on the block with a gun, you know. So, and they had that, they watch each other kids. So they building that community amongst themselves as well, but they also that extra set of eyes out on the streets. So just getting people involved. Family night out. I do a family night out. So Deb, we was on a meeting one day, and she said, you know, call these agencies and they should be able to give you tickets to all these places. And I did it. And lo and behold, I got tickets to like every event that Cedar Rapids have. So I told my outreach workers, let's use these as family night out tickets. So we're going to go, but we're going to extend the offer to whoever in the house. We're going to take the whole family. So just over the weekend, we went to a race car. We went to the racetrack. So not only did my team go, the mothers went, their kids went. The same kids, they say they can't put in a room together because they're going to kill each other, you know, but it was strange to be able to put them together. Sunday, we took them to a baseball game. It was hot as ever outside, but them kids, they sat there and they enjoyed it because they kept putting them on the big screen. So, you know, they was really excited. So it's just, you have to think outside of the box. You have to think what's going to work for your community and know when and how to bring these families together. I have some families right now that's struggling, but I really believe we're going to get there once we keep having those interactions. The mothers, they had conversations, their sons was feuding. They had the one-on-one group and one on the other group, and these are the older guys, you know. So what can we do? If you feel comfortable with me, and a lot of mothers say, well, Lisa, I feel comfortable if you sit in on this, you know, I would bring my son, and the other mothers say, I'll bring my son, and we can have this conversation. So you know what I did? I signed up to become a mediator, because now I have to make sure that I'm in a position to help them. So we just have to think outside of the box and do what works for our community, even therapists. Cedar Rapids is a majority white state. So a lot of our clients that we serve, of course, that's that young African-American population. And they're like, well, I'm not talking to no therapist. You're not going to stick me in the room with the white person. This is what they say. So I hear you. I let them know that I hear you. I went and got a list of Black therapists. So when they say that, now it's no excuse. I got you, you know. So building that toolbox, listen to what they need. Mom can tell me all day what she wants this boy to do and how she wants him to do it. You can tell me all day, but when I have a conversation with the child and they tell me what they need, those are the needs that I work towards. I work towards getting, because at the end of the day, I think a lot of, especially here, they falling short because we have a lot of young parents, which probably is everywhere, raising these young men, and a lot of women raising these men, and they just need them positive male role models and be put in spaces. Like I always say, I always put these kids in spaces that they never thought they can be in. And we have so far we have 2 volunteers who backgrounds and stuff came back, and they go out and they work and they be in the community. They go out there and they see these kids out there and they have a conversation. We're in the schools now, so they approved us to be in the schools. We met the SROs and building those relationships. So allowing us to come to school. So on Monday, we might be at Wash. At Tuesday, we might be at Jeff, but we want to build those relationships so those kids can know that we are here and we are here to support you. So, and it goes a long way. It goes a long way. I don't know if I had a chance to send Deb our numbers, but one thing that I was glad to see, we just had a governance committee the other night, and when they came in with our numbers from the previous year, and my goal is for every month for those numbers to be less than what they were the year before. So if I can keep those numbers down from the year before, I know that my team and I, we really out here doing the work. We doing the work, and I want to see them. One thing that I did like that Wayne said when he said those engagement areas, you know, that's one thing I'm going to steal from you, Wayne, because I think that's really important to put those people in them engagement areas, because that'll help. That'll help out a lot, because you stand ahead of it. You know where it's hot, and you can put those people there to make sure that everything is stay calm. But yeah, so the challenges that I have, that I see that I ran into, was making them connections with other organizations, because it's like so many organizations up here, they was trying to do the same thing over and over and over. So it was like hard to make those connections. So I had that conversation with Deb as well. Deb was my coach, so that's why I keep referencing her, because she was my coach through this. So I had a conversation with her, and she said, you know, just have a meeting and have all them, invite them all to come. And we did. And it was amazing. And it was so many organizations came out, and we were able to make the connections that we needed to make to get the kids where they need to be. And just set them up for success. Set them up for success, and make sure when you're making those connections, they can work for the population of kids that we work for. Like she said, that we're dealing with crisis clients. So I never want a client to come to me and say they need a job, and then I sit here and I don't want you to go to McDonald's. I don't want you to go to Wendy's. So I build relationships with, because we have a lot of factories here. We have a lot of welding companies. We have a lot of good paying jobs. I build relationship with these organizations to where I call the manager of the company, and they say, send me the resume and I'll let you know if there's something I can do before they go through the process. So we have it set up like that. And then the Parks and Recs, they've been amazing. They hire all our clients, regardless of their background. They get them jobs. So it's so much that you can do with this, and so many ways you can help. You just have to be willing to give it 100%. You have to have some type of passion. It can't just be a job. It can't be a job, because if you got passion, you definitely going to give it 1,000%. 1,000%. And I want to thank Michael and most definitely Deb. Deb, I have learned so much from you, and I appreciate it. If I call, you answer. And you've gave me so much knowledge, and even from the training that the organization tried to provide to me, I think between you and others that you was working with have provided me with more information and more knowledge. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So yeah, so that's my experience here in Cedar Rapids.
Thank you so much, Lisa. That was excellent. And I just, like I said with Wayne, I want to point out with you, it's interesting that you both brought up our manual, and I put the link in the chat and we'll share it with folks. And it is a manual, and it's a document, and it's a bit outdated. But what I think is so interesting and inspiring about both your work is you're both kind of innovating and thinking about solutions. So Wayne is creating a community shooting review. Lisa, you're coming up with this group for mothers, or finding a list of Black therapists. And part of the project manager role is meant to be obviously overseeing GVI and making sure you bring everyone together. But there's that X factor of innovating and thinking about the solutions that your community needs, and kind of going above and beyond. And what else can you be doing, and finding where there are gaps and filling them in these brilliant ways. So I wanted to obviously commend you for that, and thank you for sharing it with everybody. And Wayne, the same to you. So thank you both for speaking today at the workshop. And now I wanted to open up for questions for folks. Feel free to throw them in the chat, raise your hand. We could start going that way. But in the meantime, while we're kind of waiting for questions to roll in, something that I wanted to make sure we touched on, because it was something that we've discussed in previous workshops, was the importance of the custom notification. And I know you guys touched on it, but I was hoping you could kind of talk a bit more about the role of the PM and the custom notification in each of your sites. It might vary between the two of you, or Deb, if you want to join in as well. And just because those are such a pivotal part of GVI, I was hoping you could speak to the role of the PM in those events while other folks feel free to submit their questions in chat. Thank you.
Yeah, well, Michael, you know, I participate in nearly all of the custom notifications. I'm the one that provides the phone number of where the individuals can call, and then we'll direct it from there. You know, as a project manager, you can't be afraid. You know, you got to be stepping out there and lead. You know, you have to lead. And then bringing in our faith-based coordinator, we bring in our social workers and also our hospital coordinator from the our hospital-based initiative, who may have already met that individual or their family when the shooting took place, when they were brought to the hospital. So, you know, not only is it, you know, a message delivery of we want to see you safe, alive, and free, but how are you healing? You know, and then the social work is dealing with the trauma aspects of the healing, and all of our social workers, similar to what we just heard about, you know, the therapists, is that they all came out of the neighborhood. They are women that rose up with resiliency from some of the same shooting areas where the shootings are taking place, and some of the same things with dope being sold all around them. They rose up and they got their masters in social work. So when they get in the neighborhood, they're coming in with empathy, and they're armed with knowledge and skills. You know, so it's a beautiful thing. And, you know, and some of them themselves have been involved in shooting incidents. They've been in homes that have been got shot up. And so that's interesting. And just the one thing out there, and that's, I didn't mention it when we talk about our hospital-based initiative, is we added a nurse to our team. Cleveland is a young Black male that goes out, and the shooting victims look at him like, hey, this is our older brother. And he's able to do things that nobody else is able to do. He's also master's level. He's a clinical registered nurse. He teaches them about nutrition and wound care. And when you can't get in there, I can't get in there, the social worker can't get in, Michael's going to get in there. I mean, Cleveland's going to get in there, because, you know, you're sitting there with a wound, a gunshot wound, and green stuff is oozing out. You're going to want to talk to that nurse. So we use Cleveland to, you know, help to navigate inside that household sometimes, so that we can provide those provisions of services and care as well. So adding a nurse to the GVI team was one of the most amazing innovations that we brought to this work. But the custom notification, that's our bread and butter. We don't do many call-ins. I mean, the call-ins, I mean, they're a nice production, a nice show, but it's the every single week we're doing custom notification, every week. And I could talk more about it, but I don't want to, you know, suck up all the oxygen.
We could let Lisa weigh in, and then Wayne, if you want to add on maybe after that, obviously feel free to.
Yeah, so for me, when we go out and do custom notifications, it's normally so on Wednesdays, this is when we do our shooting review on Wednesdays. So we get all the information that we need from Cedar Rapids Police Department, and we go back to our team and we sit down and we send out a message. We have a group of individuals that that's custom notified trained, that's in the community, and we just send out a message and we let them know we're going out on customs. If you would like to attend, let us know. And these group involve nurses, social workers, community members, the volunteers, and things of that nature. So we always take the first two that respond because we don't want too many people showing up. So we always take the first two that respond. We meet up and like Wayne said, I'll be a part of that. You know, my boss always say, well, you know, you don't have to go to every custom, and I want to go to every custom because I want the community to know who I am. I want the individuals to know that I'm here as well, and I'm going to support my team. And that also lets me see how they work out in the field, because they might have to change some things. One thing that I heard Wayne said with his outreach workers was that background piece. Our outreach workers, you know, they're not required to have that background. So for me to see how they work, and sometimes I have to bring them back from that custom notification, and we have to debrief. Okay, what could you have did different? What could you have said different? What does that look like? We have to talk about those things. So I think that's why it's important to go out and have those interactions and actually see those interactions from your outreach workers, because it might be a time when you're not there, but you want to still make sure that it's being successfully implemented as well, even though you're not there. And then we just make sure we just document everything, try to keep track of everybody that was there, the support system, because like you said, the help is extended to the family. So we want to make sure that the child is not going to school traumatized after the incident, you know, making sure that we address those issues right then and there. So I think it's just very important to just like pay attention to just like the smallest little details. You know, I had one outreach worker, you know, he went out and they did a custom, and he came back and he was saying like the family needed food. Okay, so I take the family some food. It was right down the street from our job. We got some food, took it to the family. But what I did notice is that, okay, yeah, they need food, but the little 3-year-old sitting here with all her teeth is rotten. Do she have insurance? Do they know where to go to get the help that they need? So this is why I think it's important to pay attention to the details, because after meeting with that family, it was other things that they were struggling with, other things that they need. So of course the son is out here doing whatever he can do to help mom pay for these things that they can get insurance for. You know, it's places where you can go get food. It's people out here that would help you. So I think it's really important to just be out there. Even if it's just a quick custom notification, know your people, know your clients, know who they're working with, get to know them. I love to see our clients come in the office. And I love when they know me, and I always tell them stinky and all, I give them a hug, because all the boys be smelly. But you know, you never know what that did to them. A lot of them, nobody ever gave them a hug and told them, I'm proud of you, I appreciate you, you know, oh, well, good job, you did a good job, you know, just always being there and celebrating any success that they have. I think it makes a big difference. I think it makes a big difference, because you know what they say, word of mouth go a long way. So when they share that story about the team of people that helped them and how they brought them in, and it was like family, like this was like a whole extra extended family, you know, it travels. So I think that's why a lot of our clients, when they engage in services. As far as a call-in, we only had to do one call-in. And we had 13 individuals attend. We had 9 of those individuals sign up for services, and all of them are still engaged in services right now today. So it's just making sure that you have the right people there in places. And when you have those call-ins, making sure that you have the resources that's going to be able to help them, from housing, from medical assistance, food assistance, education, whatever it is that you can think of that's going to benefit the population that you work for, do it. I even went and I found some lady, I don't know, she fell out the sky. And she do CDLs, and she go and she only work with males who have been convicted of felon, who have a felony background. She works with them to get those barriers out the way, so she know how to get them in so they can get their COD, like, you know. So just things like that, just making connections, and just making sure that you wholeheartedly doing this work, and it's not just a job, because if you look at it as just a job, it gets tough. When you love it, to me, it's not like a job. It's just like I say, going to my other family. so yeah, but it's the customs are not bad. We don't have to, I don't want to jinx myself. We haven't had to do too many. So what I do, because for me it's too quiet. And I always say, when it's quiet, it's a storm coming. So what I have my outreach workers do is on Fridays, the outreach workers and the volunteers, they get together and they go through the neighborhood and they hand out the Stand Up for Peace flyers. And they basically say, this is the agency, this is what we do. If you need any assistance or you feel like you need to talk to somebody, and it has contact information and it has a scan code, barcode on this for them to scan. So I have them pick a neighborhood and pass them out and just make themselves known. Just because it's quiet, don't stop. Don't ever think because, okay, don't let that be your point where you get too relaxed, because when that's happening, that means something's brewing. We just don't know about it.
That was great, Lisa, and thank you. And a lot of what you were saying touched on that first principle that Deb had spoke to, which is just know your community. And from seeing the girl who needed the dental work to just knowing when it's quiet, like your community, and that's when you're kind of able to pivot and respond appropriately. So I think that rings true in your experience, and I know Wayne has dozens of stories, probably hundreds of stories like that as well. But Wayne, is there anything you wanted to add to the customs conversation? And I also wanted to ask if you could very quickly and briefly, because I think we've touched on in other workshops, talk about the project manager's role in the walking one-stops. If I could throw that over to you for a minute.
Yeah, sure. Well, in terms of the data argument or data recommendation as it relates to this work, since the custom notifications is the conduit to becoming client most of the time for us, unless it happens at the hospital through street outreach. We have a very robust case management system, request data management system. So we recommend that, if you're just starting out, have some type of case management system. I mean, Excel is nice, but it's not going to really give you everything that you need when you need it. And so we recommend that. Now, Walking One Stop is something that was born out of the 2008 South Florida Anti-Gang Summit, where the recommendation was to put one-stop centers in all the areas where we had high incidents of gun violence. Well, there was no money for that. It was the housing bust in 2008. So what we said, by the grace of the Almighty, we said, well, why don't we take that one-stop center on the shoulders of elected officials, police, community activists, concerned citizens, and bring that one-stop center right to the doorstep of those that have been impacted by the violence. And that's what we did. And it supports police legitimacy. It supports reconciliation in the community. And it brings the resources right to their doorstep. So if someone needs a job, we say, okay, well, come take a walk with us. We'll go to the staging area, and career sources there to help them with their resume, job search, or whatever. They have a criminal record, they want to get sealed or expunged. Well, the state attorney's office is on site to help them with seal and expungement. And then any other service of the federal, state, or local government is available to them through referral. So we do a little quick assessment right there on the spot, and we do a follow-up with all of the service providers that those were referred, those service requests, to make sure that the residents got what they needed. So usually when the police show up in these communities, it's not a good day for somebody. It's usually in response to something, and people look at the police very often as the enforcer or the enemy. But when they come in with Walking One Stop, it's officer friendly. It's, hey, how can we help you? Our mayor, she'll come knocking on your door in a Walking One Stop, say, hey, this is Daniela, how can I help you? And there's no cameras rolling. It's not election time. It's just a way of reaching people right where they are. And it kind of like, like I guess half of the people on this call probably, went to grad school because they thought they could change the world, and they got out and now they're doing case notes up to here in some cubicle with no windows, And it's like, oh man, why'd I ever, get into this work? Well, the Walking One Stop brings you right back into the neighborhood, face to face with people that you can make a real difference in. So Walking One Stop has been an amazing thing. I know everybody on the call does community outreach. Well, you don't do Walking One Stop, tell it. It's really amazing. But anyway, thank you, Michael, for asking me to talk on it.
No problem. I'll take any opportunity to let you highlight the walking one stops because I think they're amazing and another innovation like we were talking about. I know we're starting to come up on time, but there's one more question I wanted to pose to you too. And it's something you touched on during your presentations, and Wayne, even just then a tiny bit. And it's building those bridges to law enforcement, which I know could be kind of thorny and taxing. Wayne, I know we talked about the shooting reviews and kind of how you brilliantly thought of this workaround of the community shooting reviews, but can you both talk quickly, briefly, because we're running out of time, about what it was like and maintain those into the intervention and working with them? We could start with Lisa, if you want.
For me, I think it was really easy for me because the Cedar Rapids Police Department, they was on board from day one when they started GVI here in Cedar Rapids. So when I came aboard, it was like they were so knowledgeable and they were so open to sharing the information and making sure that we knew things. You had a couple officers, you can tell they wasn't 100% on board. So now you can see the difference. They didn't want to, like, we have like forms that they print out, and I'm like, okay, that would be helpful for us to have, because now we could put the faces with the names, and we the ones out here in the community. So if you telling me Ray Johnson, I need to be able to know what Ray Johnson looked like. So it'll be nice to get a visual. So it was just like, that was the only thing that we had that I encountered with them, but they was always 100% on board since I got in. So our relationship with Cedar Rapids Police Department is like really good. And they actually implemented a training where they have to take the GVI training upon hire. And it's across the whole department. So they're in the process of doing that now. So every police officer would be trained in the work that we do.
That's amazing and great to hear, Lisa. Thank you. Wayne?
We didn't get that. We didn't get that level of support when we first started. They looked at us like we were crazy. They're like, this is not going to work. We already tried that before. Like, no, you didn't. So, and this is what goes back to the very first thing I said about reading. If you're going to do this work, you have to do it with the fidelity. It's guaranteed, it's scientifically proven that if you do this work with fidelity, you're going to have impact, definitely. And so we won them over by doing this work with fidelity, and then they started to see the numbers go down. We had over 60% reduction in group member involved homicides from when we started to the end of year 3, and that was during the pandemic. So now they take it as, hey, this is ours. Like, yeah, okay, whatever. Take it, you're vested now. But you have to do it. If you do this work with fidelity, guaranteed it's going to work. Almost, I would say 95% guarantee that if you do it with fidelity, it's going to work. But you don't know what fidelity is if you don't read, so you got to read, you got to understand, go see what sites are doing that are doing it right. You got this amazing resource in your field advisor at National Network. They're all amazing. I've had the pleasure of meeting most, if not all of them, and they all have experience either as project managers or academicians or criminologists. They all have a wealth of knowledge. And the best thing about them is if they don't know the question, the answer to your question, they know where to go to find it. And of course, David Kennedy at the helm, who is, just like Lisa said, read the book, Bleeding Out. And, another good book to read if you haven't is Thomas App's book. I can't recall the name of his book, but But oh, I'm sorry,
Bleeding
Thomas
Out
Aske's
is,
book is
and,
Bleeding Out.
yeah,
And,
Don't Shoot is
and
David.
then, and David Kennedy's book, Don't Shoot. Don't Shoot, that's right. Yeah, those are the two books that are like mandatory reading to doing this work.
Great. And yes, I obviously endorse those as well. All right, so we're nearing time. Just wanted to see if any folks had questions before we start to wrap up. If you don't have them now, feel free to email me in between sessions or ask them next session. But all right, so I will share my screen one more time. All right. So thank you all for joining us today. Thank you again to Wayne and Lisa for your amazing presentations, Deb for doing a great job guiding us through the role of the project manager. Hopefully now you've kind of got a sense of what the role is, what the role could be, and kind of some amazing ways you could innovate within that role. Our next session is currently scheduled for Thursday, October 5th, and will be about one of our other interventions. So not about the group violence intervention, but about our intimate partner violence intervention, or IPVI. And then future sessions that we have scheduled will be about managing resources and partnerships in the hospital-based intervention programs that Wayne was discussing and that Miami-Dade does an excellent job on. So look forward to those as well. As always, you can email me at gviworkshop@nnscommunities.org or go to our website, nnscommunities.org/GVI-workshop. We'll put up the slide decks, the recording, a link to the manual, the project manager's manual that we were talking about. And if you have any colleagues or other jurisdictions, you want to send them our way to attend future workshops, let them see the videos, just send them either of these links, and we'll hopefully see you at the next session. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
Thank you.